version. Well, that was unexpected.
You mean this whole time we've been coming up with jokes and songs, and all we need to do is play a line of a Queen song and you're entertained?
Boy, programming JoCo Cruise Crazy 4 is going to be cake. All right, shut the hell up. A brand new announcement, 7:30 this evening in the Olive and Twist, which is up on 14. Olive or Twist. Pardon me. Conjunction junction is not my function. Maybe this event is going to be so huge that it is going to require both the Olive and Twist. Wherever the fuck it is, John Hodgman and Famous Tracy are having the Scrabble rematch. The number 3 to decide the title. That's 7:30 tonight in Olive nor Twist. Do not forget, as you saw it during intermission at the table up there, it will also have merchandise for sale at the table post this show, and one last time at the, where is it? The Logo Souvenir Shop, that's correct, on the promenade. Do not forget that dinner tonight in the main dining room is formal. We can see that our monarch did not forget. Monarch, acknowledge your subjects. And we have been asked to let you know that Scarface is coding and coding his adorable little buns off right now. Working very hard, in the hopes that we shall have the JoCo Cruise Crazy 4 booking engine online. Say it with me, everyone. Soon. We will announce it as soon as it goes live. Trust me, you won't miss it. And now, Dr. Smolpinus.
What can one say about Wil Wheaton? We all know what a great starship captain he is. I, in fact, served with him for a brief mission on the Maltose Falcon. We shot a lot of ships. We didn't see any space whales. That's how the space cookie crumbles. I actually don't know him from anything else. I just know him as an Artemis starship captain, so I'm very curious to see what it is he's going to do tonight and why we invited him on the cruise. Ladies and gentlemen, Wil Wheaton.
This is because I was, no, Bean, I don't need you anymore. I wrote this and I printed it out so I wouldn't forget it, and I left the printout on my printer at home, which I'm going to beat the shit out of with an Office Space style baseball bat when I get home for not reminding me before I left that there was an important thing printed out, like right in its paper tray. I paid extra for that, so what the fuck, Hewlett-Packard? Should have gotten that extended warranty from Staples. So the thing about this cruise that I love the most, that has been the most amazing thing ever, is my favorite thing was watching the JoCo live band karaoke. Because there was this room full of people, and they were all, every single person in that room was supportive and enthusiastic about people who were doing something that, for me, like I get paid to get on stage and entertain people, and I was like just stamping down panic attacks with whiskey through that entire set because I was so scared for the people on stage, and I thought that was awesome. And I watched how much fun everybody had, and it didn't matter that, you know, you forgot a word or whatever, and I decided that I was going to force myself out of my comfort zone, which is, I'm terrified. Thanks, you're awesome. That's really sweet. But I decided to step out of my comfort zone, and I wrote some jokes, and then I put them like together in like a set, and like it's sort of like a list. So I kind of have like what I think is about a 3.5 minute stand-up comedy set list. I've never tried this before, and it just might be awful. But I'm counting on you to let me know if it is awful with your applause and your screaming and your general sense of encouragement, which is also how I encourage you to behave if I do it right. If you could just imagine that there's like a bare brick wall behind me, and that I have on like a skinny leather tie and a sport jacket, you know, with the sleeves rolled up. And I've just come out on stage to your raucous applause. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Man, it is so good to be back on the cruise. Yesterday in the port we saw the Westerdam. It was awesome. It was great. I loved seeing the Westerdam in port again. And I actually just by habit started to walk to the Westerdam to get back onto that ship, which, as it turns out, is running a Glee cruise that is exactly like this one. So I got up to the gangway and I was like, I'm here for the Jonathan Colton thing, and the Glee guy was like, we have no idea who that is, please leave. There were a lot of lawyers there. It was weird. I am so glad to be on a cruise ship instead of at home, because it's like we're having municipal elections at home, which is sort of like everything from like the worst of the high school popularity contests magnified by like not just your high school but the entire city. And everywhere you go, there's like just electioneering all over the place. And everybody has these really obnoxious, brightly colored, non-informative signs in their yard that let you know kind of like who they're cheering for. It's actually been unintentionally useful for me, because there's this one house a couple of blocks away, and they're like hardcore like Tea Party psychos. Like they were really like holding, like they were choking back their bile and polishing one of their 400 guns while they were like, okay, I guess Romney. And it's in their yard, and I'm like, so I go to their yard and I just write down who these people are voting for, and it makes it really easy for me to know, well, I just don't know how to vote for those guys. That's fine. But we have this one ballot measure in my town, and it's called Measure S. I have no idea what it is or what it does, but I know that it's happening because these Measure S signs are everywhere. I've begun to actively hate and resent the existence of the letter S, because I see it everywhere I go, and these signs are stupid. Like, they just say yes S or no S. But if you say them together, it's like you drive by and it's like it says yes. Or you look at the other one and it's like it says NOS. So it's like I live in a town where like half the people are Ed McMahon enthusiasts and half of them are raver kids. I'm so glad that I don't have to see that anymore, at least until I go home, because the election hasn't happened yet. I was on the cruise, and I was up in the Windjammer Lounge. And, one of the great things about, yeah, give it up for the Windjammer, okay. I don't know what the Windjammer's rival lounge is, but we should boo that. Yeah, whatever you're called, not windjamming. So I was up in the Windjammer Lounge, and one of the things that I really love about the cruise ship is that there are people on the cruise from all over the world. And it's really great. Like, you get to meet people and you talk to them a little bit about their culture. I was sitting down next to a guy having breakfast with him and his very lovely wife, and they were from Paris. And I lived in Nice for a while when I was a kid and worked on a movie, so we were talking for a little bit, and he said, what is it that you do? And I said, I'm an actor and a writer, and quite frankly, I'm surprised you haven't heard of me. Do you not have television in France? And I said, or the internet, really? And you know, a couple of years ago in America, we were really down on you. And it was just for food you didn't even invent. And we were talking, and he said, I said, so what is it that you do? And he begins to list this incredible list of things that he has done. I worked on an oil rig, I was in the Navy, I play guitar, I'm a painter. This guy was such a Jacques of all trades. That's right, that's what happened. Another thing I've learned from being on a boat where people are from all over the world is that whining is very much its own language. It does not matter what language the whine is happening in. Like, children, I guess, before we were born, like, we went to, like, there's like a meeting room, like, before you're, like, called to the womb, and, like, you just all sit around, I guess, before you're, like, whatever you are, right? You're, like, that little spark of like, I hope that I'm planned. And you're sitting there, right, and you're just waiting with, you know, and you're like waiting for your number to be called, and we all just agreed this is how the whining's gonna go, right? When we get older, it's gonna be, so it's everywhere. It does not matter what language it is in. I heard, Mama, no quiero. And then, like, another kid was like, blah, 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 power converters. It is so hard to be a kid today. I thought it was hard for me on account of how there was a news group dedicated to the various ways that I should be raped to death when I was growing up. I got over it, and as you can tell, because I'm not talking about it when I'm 40. And I was right in the elevator going up to the Crown Viking thing, which, by the way, if you try to, like, pillage that thing, they get very upset with you. Don't fucking call it the Viking Lounge if you don't want me to go in there and act like a Viking. So I'm riding the elevator up, and there's this, and there's a young one of the damn kids today, young person, and you've seen them, they're everywhere with the whining, and this particular damn kid today is, he's wearing a t-shirt, and it's got kind of like a Domo-kun on it, right? And then, like, Domo-kun's wearing, like, hipster Hello Kitty sunglasses. And it's, I can tell, like, this is, as I'm like sort of taking the t-shirt in, you know, and it's like, it's getting worse. And then hipster Hello Kitty Domo-kun is holding like like an iPhone or something like that. And then I noticed that it has like a big, thick Run DMC rope kind of gold necklace on it. It was, and then the shirt down the side lets you know, if you haven't put it together from the things that are already on the shirt, that this kid is in possession of a large quantity of swag. And it just looks stupid. And I realized that this kid grows up in a world where the entire, like, concept of swag is really important to teenagers, and it sucks because they stress out about it. I was in Target back at home before I left, and there was a kid, and he was having one of those teenager arguments with his mom, where what he really wants to do, it's like a teenager temper tantrum. What he wants to do is, like, scream at his mom because she's being so unreasonable and doesn't understand anything. But he, you know, wants to keep his swag profile in an appropriate way. So he's like, Mom, I have to have the shirt so I can keep my swag up at school. And I felt so terrible for this kid. Like, it would have been so easy just to make fun of him and laugh at him and tell a joke at his expense. But, like, look, man, I was an awkward kid. I'm an awkward adult. I sat there and agonized this afternoon. What shirt am I gonna wear? I put on the short sleeve shirt. No, that's stupid, my arms are too skinny. I put on the shirt that I like. Nope, already wore that, can't wear that. All right, so I'm gonna go with this one that I wore a couple of days ago, and I don't think anybody saw me on that day. On this boat where we're all in one small, confined ecosystem area. Nobody noticed it, so I'll wear that. So I go over to the kid, and I say, look, man, I know that this is really important to you. And by the way, I'm an internationally famous television and movie superstar, so I'm like giving you some verbal swag right now. I just want you to know that like this thing that you think is so important, and this thing, this like stupid article of clothing that you've attached your identity to, like it just doesn't matter, man. You just gotta like be who you are. And as I'm saying this to him, I look over his little head and I see that there's a guy and he's taking the last Iron Man shirt, which is the whole fucking reason I went to Target in the first place. So I knock the kid over and I run over and I'm like, that's my fucking Iron Man shirt! Because YOLO, guys! Last thing I want to tell you about is a true story. I was on the bow of the ship the day that we, what is it called? You don't take off. We don't have enough helicopters and nano strings to do that. Is it disenfouling a rock? Okay, so we were disenfouling rock from the boat parking place, and Greg Benson and I were standing out on that helipad. And we were just looking out, you know, it was really beautiful and a little windy, sun setting, it's gorgeous. And there's not a lot of sea monkeys up there at this particular time. It's just a lot of, you know, normals. And this you know, muggle woman comes up to me and she looks at my badge and she goes, "You're with the nerds!" Like, this woman is probably descended from Ogre, from Revenge of the Nerds, like, that guy Bread, and she's like, "Honey, they're with the nerds!" And I'm like, you know, it's really offensive and rude to group a bunch of people together because they live a certain way or like a certain thing, and I really don't appreciate you judging me like that, you fucking snork. Thank you. And then I walk off and it goes to a local commercial for that's advertising like VCRs or something like that. Okay, so that's over. Good. All right. Now I'm going to tell you something. Thanks. Okay. Wow. That was really scary. I'm going to tell you a story now, and I'll pull this back so you can go on the front row. Continue to look at me. I know. I see myself every day. A couple of months ago, wow, whatever I was eating the last time I used my computer was very sticky. I don't know what it was, but it seems like it maybe had orange in it. I was cleaning out my garage because I want to build a brewery in it. And I have, all right, give it up for garage is full of shit that you don't need. I'm cleaning out my garage and I'm finding all this stuff, these great artifacts. And I spent like, what probably would have taken me one day took 4.5 days because it was a very emotional experience for me. I came across all these things that are left over from like a lifetime in the entertainment industry. And I sort of like, everything was like a little time capsule from Stand By Me or from a lot of stuff from Star Trek or from some other things that I did, things from like, you know, Ann and I were dating, and I came across so much stuff that I had to just keep stopping because I'd get overwhelmed with emotion because it was like that. But I was live Twittering it also, which also made it take a long time because, you know, I got to put the picture of the jacket on the thing and then go back to work and, oh, you know what, I probably have to go spend a half an hour reading Twitter replies or not working. Anyway, I have all the pictures. I'm eventually going to do a blog post about it, and somebody on Twitter suggested that I call it Wheelhouse 13, which I really liked a lot. And anyway, one of the things this story is about a thing that I found. And this is also really far out of my comfort zone. I read this at Woodstock Founders Night. Right, let's give it up for Founders Nights. And And I have the same sense of nausea that I had before I did it then. So this is a new piece, but it's actually very old. So, and I'm sorry that I'm reading it off of this computer screen. We had to talk about how this is HP's fault. So the year is 1994. I am 21 years old. And though, oh, I need the screen, by the way. Sorry, I forgot to do that. Well, it's over. I've ruined it. Ruined it all. Nope, I didn't ruin it. Maybe I ruined it. I wonder if there's some kind of like, to make the screen come down, they have to get, it's like nuclear launch code keys. There you go, okay, good. All right, and now if you could also just go to your bunkers because the missiles have been launched. How weird is it that a fucking asteroid blew up in the sky over Russia today? I know, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I can tell you who's really excited about it. Thank you. I can tell you who's really excited about it. My dad, who's convinced the Cold War's still happening. My dad's really excited about that. Thank you, Sarah. Well, I can tell you that this is not a Pliny the Elder that was smuggled onto the ship for me. I can be sure of that. Oh, man. Yeah, we are going to do that YouTube series called Watch Will Drink a Beer. This is the pilot. Okay, so the year is 1994. I'm 21 years old, and though I'm convinced that I'm very mature, having a very hard time finding my way out of a 10 by 10 room that has one door and a map. I'm struggling to figure out who I am, struggling to figure out what's important to me and what I'm going to do with my life. I've spent some time working for a company called New Tech, and I'm living in Topeka, Kansas. And what we do is we make this really great video editing software called the Video Toaster. And yes, you are correct. That is the appropriate response to that. We are sort of the great-great-grandfather of iMovie and Final Cut and all of these nonlinear editing systems that we all completely take for granted today. But like we had this idea, the company that I work for had this idea that technology should not get in between a person's creative idea and making that idea a reality, and money shouldn't be a barrier to that. And we ended up revolutionizing the porn industry, so good for us. So I've spent some time working for New Tech, and while I'm very proud of the work I've contributed to the Video Toaster 4000, something just doesn't feel right in my life. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing. I am adrift in a sea of post-teenage confusion. And I'm profoundly immature. Luckily, I'm self-aware enough to know how little I know, so I've been attempting to educate myself about the world, trying really hard to level up. I've been reading philosophy books because that seems like something smart and insightful people do. But I've gotten wrapped up in Nietzsche's Beyond Good and Evil, and I have become something of an obnoxious fucking intellectual. Now, I will eventually grow out of this phase, but at this particular moment in 1994, I'm dealing with the aftermath of being this guy. And this guy. Please note those are called sexy tears. And this guy, I don't know what that says, but I'm fairly certain Super Terrific is in it several times. And of course this guy. Now for those of you who for some reason can't see, let me just show you that I am wearing rollerblades. That's the Lightning model of rollerblades, with my muscle builder pants that are tucked into the rollerblades to prevent, I don't know, things from getting into them, or probably the shame from running out of me. For safety, I've taken off most of the swatches. I'm only wearing one, and of course I have a friendship bracelet on there, because that's a good thing to have. And in case you weren't aware of what was going on down here, I've worn a t-shirt that lets you know that the activity I'm engaging in is in fact rollerblading. And there's an outline of a person who does what I guess rollerblading actually is. I mostly did falling down. So why not have a photo shoot in a place where I'm also sitting on a tree, you know, like you do when you're rollerblading. So I'm dealing with the aftermath of having been that guy for my entire life to this point. and it isn't easy. In fact, it's pretty goddamn painful. But I don't know how to talk about what it means to be that guy. I don't know how to deal with what it means to be that guy. So I project this aura of overconfidence that in retrospect is really embarrassing. But something important happens at this moment in 1994, and it happens on a Star Trek cruise in Alaska. It will change my life. It will set me on a long and meandering course out of the sea of uncertainty and toward the man I will eventually become. It happens because I find out that I am expected to perform with the other actors on the cruise's talent show, and I am forced to confront the reality that I do not have any talents. All I can do is act, and at this moment, I'm not sure that I'm very good at that. So I take a walk around the deck of this ship, and instead of pretending to be deep in thought, as usual, sort of hunched over James Dean walking against the wind style, like you do, I actually think. I really think about who I am and what is really important to me, and I wonder what I can contribute to this talent show. And the honest truth is, I am terrified. I feel like a complete fraud. I wonder if there's a way that I can just sneak out of this thing and not be part of it. And then I remember that I'm on a boat, and the water is very cold. So I continue walking past Star Trek fans, very nice people, every last one of them, and forcing a smile, the occasional small talk. I'm afraid someone will ask me what I'm going to do for the show, but nobody does. Now, I don't remember exactly how I got there, but I eventually found myself alone in the ship's library. It was quiet, peaceful. I sat in a comfortable chair, and I looked out the window at just the humbling beauty of the Alaskan coastline. What am I going to do? I thought. How can I do anything that's as entertaining as the other actors? Rene Auberjonois is going to sing the song that he sang in the movie Beauty and the Beast. I hate myself. My life has just been one series of bad decisions. Why did I leave Star Trek? Why did I do that shitty movie, The Liars Club? Why did I let them talk me into doing The Curse? Why can't I do something better than Stand By Me? Why aren't I famous and successful like so many of my friends? Why am I living in Kansas instead of in Los Angeles? What the fuck am I doing with my life? I sat there for a long time, wallowing in self-pity and self-loathing, and then, out of nowhere, an idea. I write stories every now and then. Stories aren't that bad. Maybe I could write an essay about... I jumped out of the chair, grabbed a few sheets of paper from an empty table nearby, and I wrote across the top of it, "In Defense of Nerds" by Wil Wheaton. I started where all 21-year-olds who think they're clever and insightful start an essay, with the dictionary definition. Nerd, slang, a stupid, irritating, ineffectual, or unattractive person. That's me! I continued to write for 3 pages, philosophically pontificating on the titular defense, which I was so very cultured, I used the British spelling of D-E-F-E-N-C-E of nerds. What I didn't know at the time, and didn't realize until I wrote this a couple of months ago, is that I was writing both a defense and defiant declaration of who I was. For 3 pages, I defined myself by the things that were important to me. Being a nerd, and loving nerd things, instead of allowing myself to be defined by who I was. A former child actor who was struggling to find his ass with both hands, and a map, and a person who was like, your ass is there, and a cheat guide, and a person putting my hands on my ass. Which I gotta say, I've been working out, you guys. It's not working. When I finished writing, I felt pretty good about myself and what I'd written. I felt empowered. I felt slightly less lame. The talent show that I had been dreading couldn't come soon enough, so I could take the stage and prove to the world that I was more than just a former child actor who had quit Star Trek and was now regretting it. This may sound familiar to those of you who have read Just a Geek. I was on near the end of the program, if I remember correctly. I tucked my pages into my copy of Beyond Good and Evil, because you see, I had to impress everyone with my knowledge and deep understanding of Nietzsche, who was relevant to the essay because reasons. And I walked up onto the stage. I hate talent shows, I began, with what I hoped was self-deprecating humor, because they remind me of how singularly talented I am. Some laughter came out of the audience, and I finished introducing myself. I began reading my essay. I can't recall specifically how the entire thing unfolded. It was almost 20 years ago. But I do recall that it went well and the audience enjoyed it. I ended it with, ready? I will remind my critics that Albert Einstein, Stephen Hawking, and Bill Gates are all nerds and nonconformists. After a dramatic pause, my name is Wil Wheaton, and I am a nerd who just compared himself without a hint of self-awareness to Stephen Hawking, Albert Einstein, and Bill Gates. In my memory, which I want to make excruciatingly clear is not entirely reliable, the audience went crazy, even though I had the audacity to make the comparison. Oh, the blind arrogance and surety of the 21-year-old philosopher. In the years that followed, I'd occasionally think back to this day in 1994, when I wrote and performed something in public for the very first time. I would wonder if it was as good as I remembered it, or as bad as I feared. I looked for the essay whenever I moved, but I never found it until this particular weekend. Going through my garage, clearing out space to build a home brewery, I opened boxes that I haven't opened since 1995, when I moved out of my parents' house and into my own house. Those boxes were mostly filled with books that I didn't want or need, but they painted a very clear picture of who I was back then. A lot of science fiction and fantasy books. How-to guides on programming in C++. Some of them I even got past the second page of. I'm like, hello world, I got this. What the fuck? I was not told there would be math. If math, then end. Goodbye. Unrelated to this, I found the code that runs Reddit. It basically says, if bacon, then bacon, else bacon. Wild bacon, narwhal. If narwhal, then cats. So, and that, by the way, Richard Stallman, is open source. And including, in addition to those books, there was every book Henry Rollins had ever written up to that point. Volume after volume of William Burroughs and some of the beat writers. There were a number of books on film and acting and a large number of philosophy books. Among the philosophy books was my copy of Beyond Good and Evil. Oh, God, I thought to myself. Now I know why I haven't looked in these boxes in years. I was such an insufferable douchebag back then. I should have listened more and talked less. I grabbed the book and I tossed it into a donation box. It landed on its front with its spine facing me. I turned back to the box I was emptying, and my eye caught some pieces of paper folded up and shoved into a book, like a bookmark. I slowly turned back and I looked at them for a long time, not sure that I wanted to see what the 1994 21-year-old philosopher douchebag version of me had to say, but fairly certain that I had no choice. I slowly reached out for the book and I picked it up. I cringed and pulled out the papers. I unfolded them and I saw In Defense of Nerds by Wil Wheaton. Holy shit. I sat down and I read the entire 3 pages. It's written by the 21-year-old I was. I kept it, and I took it into my office and scanned it, because it was something that I wanted to make sure I had forever. I'm going to read it for you now. In Defense of Nerds by Wil Wheaton. Nerd. Noun. Slang. A stupid, irritating, ineffectual, or unattractive person. An intelligent, but single-minded person, obsessed with a non-social hobby or pursuit. A computer nerd. An interesting way of saying get a life. This was on a Star Trek cruise, pandering to the nerds. It's my Paul & Storm cover band. An interesting way of saying get a life from a society that embraces monster truck racing in the WWF, don't you think? Well, I have a life. We all do. Our lives just don't agree with what society has determined to be socially acceptable. It is historically proven that society feels threatened by that which it does not understand, and in most cases fears, and attempts to destroy it. I actually did this during the reading in 1984. Such is the fate of the nerd. I first experienced this in elementary school. Being more interested in academics than athletics, I was jeered at by the popular children as they went to the playground to hurl balls at one another in a senseless, barbaric competition known as dodgeball. Please note the quotes. While they were developing their athletic prowess, we were developing our minds. When they went to parties and passed out on the couch, we played D&D and passed out behind the Dungeon Master's screen. Next page. The Dictionary of Contemporary Slang says that in the early 1970s, an underground comic book portrayed nerds as a subspecies of suburban dullards. Subspecies? I don't think so, Dictionary of Contemporary Slang. I think subculture is more accurate. Our achievements are not less important or even greater than theirs. They are simply different. Defeating a monstrous wyvern or closing the final stitch of your Star Trek uniform is just as exhilarating as scoring the winning touchdown or getting into a fraternity. Why is it then that society feels it necessary to label Star Trek clubs a place where it's acceptable to wear your spacesuit and cheer the defeat of the Borg as weird and antisocial when it calls fraternities a place where it is acceptable to get drunk and sexually harass everyone, an important part of every boy's college life? Could it be that because Trekkies don't fit squarely into society and frat guys are as predictable as the dawning of the day? Quite a clever turn of phrase, Wheaton. The audience is going to love that. That society feels more comfortable with the belligerent drunk than it does with the free thinker. Certainly they are less threatening. Our slang words that they can't possibly understand, like BRB and AFK, are more cryptic than the grunting and snarling offered us by the jock, and must consequently be dangerous. I propose that the societal whole is threatened by anything which, this is my thesis, I propose that the societal whole is threatened by anything which challenges its conformity and sense of righteousness, and as a result it persecutes the nonconformist. Society persecutes the nerd. Page 3. You guys, it's a legit scam. It takes great courage to stand for that which you believe in and hold dear in the face of such persecution, generally born of fear and ignorance. And no, I'm not suggesting that protesting the cancellation of Star Trek, or taking your Dungeon Master's Guide and Fiend Folio with you to your parochial school puts you in league with Alexander Solzhenitsyn. I couldn't say the guy's name then, I can't say it now. So of course that's the dissident I chose to put into the essay. Alexander Solzhenitsyn? That's the guy. But all things done in the presence of an unsympathetic populace are worthy of accolade, no matter how small. In regard to the nonconformist, the philosopher Nietzsche said, now it says here, read 29. So it is at this point in the talent show that I open my book of Beyond Good and Evil without affectation and read the following. It is the business of the very few to be independent. It is a privilege of the strong. And whoever attempts it, even with the best right, but without being obliged to do so, proves that he is probably not only strong, but also daring beyond measure. He enters into a labyrinth. He multiplies 1,000-fold the dangers which life in itself already brings with it. Not the least of which is that no one can see how and where he loses his way, becomes isolated, and is torn piecemeal by some minotaur of conscience. Supposing such a one comes to grief, it is not so far from the comprehension of men that they neither feel it nor sympathize with it. And he cannot any longer go back. He cannot even go back again to the sympathy of men. The book is closed and dropped. I will remind my critics that Albert Einstein, Stephen Hawking, and Bill Gates are all nerds and nonconformists. My name is Wil Wheaton, and I am a nerd. It's not as good as I remember it. But it's not as bad as I was afraid. It is the very best that 21-year-old version of me could do. And I'm proud of him. I am proud of him for taking a chance, for facing his fear of being laughed off the stage, and speaking very passionately about something that mattered to him and still matters very much to me. I am so grateful that on that day in 1994, I set aside pretending to think about things, and I actually thought about things. It was a small but important step toward finding my way into the life that I now have. And it's a really good life. In fact, if I looked at the foundation upon which I built my adult life, I would not be surprised to find that this essay is awfully close to the keystone. The end. Thank you very much. I have to ask the back of the house if we have time to do the other thing. We do have time to do the other thing? Oh, you guys. We are going to do the other thing. No, I said the other thing. I don't know where you were at 4 o'clock this morning. It was probably a sex party because I wasn't there. I was asleep. I am easily amused. It is the absolute best way to live your life. I know, having been that insufferable, overly serious 21-year-old philosopher douchebag, that sort of like that hipster thing of like not enjoying things legitimately, but only enjoying them like kind of ironically at the expense of another person sucks. Don't do it. Don't be a dick. Really love things. Allow yourself to be easily amused by things. So, a few months ago, I was walking around being easily amused by stuff like I am, and my brain was like, hey Will, what's up brain? You got something to tell me? In matter of fact, I do. Wouldn't it be funny if Robocop was a really bad sitcom in the 80s? Go on, brain. Well, like, he would always be fucking up. And then all of the other cops would go, Robocop! Like with their hands on their hips. And then Robocop would murder them all. And it happened every week like that. Half-hour, 4-camera show. Everything resets right away at the beginning of next week. Nobody's dead. It's the same story over and over and over again. It's different strokes without that creepy Gordon Jump episode. So I took this idea to Twitter, and all these people on Twitter were like, dude, yeah, here's some other ideas. And then my brain was like, you know what has to happen now, right? So I sat down and I wrote out the entire first season of Robocop, if it were a bad 80s sitcom. Now, I have with me part of one of the episodes. And something that actors and writers will often do is we will get together, and we will get together some of our friends, and we will ask them if they'll do a staged reading for us. And the reason we do this is because, like, as a writer, you're going to get something up on its feet and just hear other people do the characters, so that you get a little bit of perspective on them, and you do that so that you can make it better. This doesn't have to be better because it's perfect. But I think that you will enjoy hearing it performed for you in any event. So I'd like to introduce today's cast for Robocop! Exclamation point. Playing the role of the audience, because Robocop is filmed in front of a live studio audience, is our good friend Mr. Paul Zaborin. Also, feel free to take the curtain up. There's a lot of description that happens in here, and that description will be performed by our good friend, Mr. Storm DiCostanzo. I will be playing the part of Robocop. And part of the most popular character on the show, the one who everyone loves more even than the title character, the grizzled old sergeant who is always very close to retirement, is our host, Jonathan Colton. Hello, gentlemen. Good evening.
Hello, Will.
Hello.
I really appreciate you coming here to this theater space I rented in the Valley.
It's a lovely black box.
You said there was going to be some food, but there's not any food.
Well, that's all right. I'm ordering some pizza. And I understand there's some casting folks in the audience, so I made good on that promise as well. So this will be Robocop, everybody. Robocop. And Storm, go right ahead.
Interior, police headquarters, day. Robocop comes toward camera, doing that weird marching walk thing. He stops in front of a vending machine and precisely turns to face it. Flash 2, Robocop point of view. Through Robocop's heads-up display, we see the nutritional information of the various items in the machine as he scans them. A can of soda has a mouse in it. A chocolate bar has traces of cocaine. A bag of chips is actually a bag of fingernails. All that skips by so fast, though, the audience doesn't really notice it consciously. A crosshairs appears on the heads-up display and selects a bag of oiled, flavored microchips. They're actually chips, with a cartoony, smiling Robocop drawing on the front. He's giving a thumbs.
That should actually be thumbs up. There's a typo in this script. Sorry. I guess it's not
Now
perfect.
he is giving a thumbs.
Or could also, maybe you meant some thumbs. Did you
Yeah,
mean some
like,
thumbs?
here you go. You need thumbs?
RoboCop has many thumbs.
Yeah, this is also actually the very first sponsorship tie-in that happens on Robocop the series.
Oh, that's handy.
Yeah, these are Wise makes the oil-flavored microchips. They don't exist on the West Coast.
Back to scene. RoboCop puts a crumpled dollar into the machine, which spits it out. He does this 3 or 4 times.
Dead or alive, these chips are coming with me. Accept my money. You have 10 seconds to comply.
He tries to put the money into the machine. The machine spits it back out.
I have ordered you to accept my money. You have 7 seconds to comply.
He tries to put the money in the machine. The machine spits it back out. It falls to the floor.
You have attempted to assault a police officer with his own money. You are under arrest.
An older, grizzled sergeant comes out of his office down the hall.
Robocop, what the hell are you doing?
That's actually why there's a lot of problems on the set between RoboCop and the Sergeant in the 7th season, because RoboCop has figured out that the audience likes the Sergeant more. And he found out by reading the trade papers that the Sergeant got more in the contract renegotiation in the 5th season than RoboCop gets.
You gotta pay for talent.
He also has had a RoboCop "What the hell are you doing?" T-shirts made, but he didn't get them licensed properly first.
Robocop, what the hell are you doing?
Making an arrest, sir.
The sergeant rolls his eyes and shakes his head.
Robocop, would you mind telling me how you're going to arrest a vending machine?
By the book.
Robocop, you are crazy. Let me help you.
The sergeant picks up the dollar bill off the floor. RoboCop pulls his gun in a flash. He points it at the sergeant.
You are tampering with evidence. You are under arrest.
You can't arrest me, Robocop. I'm your boss.
You are under arrest.
Oh, Robocop, I ain't got time for this. I retire in 2 days.
It's another catchphrase.
He actually does an entire tie-in with a fast food chain about retiring in 2 days. Arrest, 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 arrest.
Damn it, now you're stuck in a loop. I better reset you.
The sergeant makes a move towards RoboCop. The sergeant puts his hand on RoboCop's shoulder. RoboCop snaps out of it.
Assault on an officer. Use of deadly force is authorized.
RoboCop shoots about 1,000 bullets into the sergeant, blowing him across the hallway, where, hidden here, he hits the wall and slides to the floor, leaving streaks of blood behind.
Damn it, Robocop. I had 2 days until retirement.
The sergeant dies.
Thank you for your cooperation. I am not arresting you anymore.
Dozens of officers rush into the hallway, stopping short of the grisly scene. They look at RoboCop, incredulous. RoboCop turns back to the vending machine.
Your move, dirtbag.
Suddenly, the bag of chips drops from the vending machine for some reason, startling RoboCop. He whirls towards it and destroys it in a hail of epic gunfire. RoboCop!
Did I do that?
RoboCop turns to the camera and instantly shrugs. Robocop is a Tim Martin production, filmed in front of a live studio audience. If you're in the Los Angeles area and would like to stop by the CBS Studios to see part of the filming, contact CBS Studios. Robocop's wardrobe is furnished by Botany 500. If you would like a transcript of this week's episode, write to CBS Studios. No one knows we're hard in the filming of Robocop. The Robocop plays, everybody. Thank you.
Wil Wheaton, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks a lot, everybody. I'll see you at dinner.
We'll see you at dinner.